Of people seeking shelter during the initial alert, many of them left speechless.
There's no words for a situation like this.
College students ordered to shelter in place, barricading themselves inside dorms, classrooms, and restaurants.
Local, state, and federal investigators all rushing to the scene, hundreds of them, to get those students to safety. And of course, they're still working now to get answers. Much of the community still grappling with the devastating toll that this shooting has taken on the East Lansing community.
Let us walk you through what we know so far. 3 people have been confirmed dead. 5 people are hospitalized in critical condition. We've been following the story since last night. People were seen running through the streets, trying to get to safety after a shelter-in-place order was issued. The police response was immediate. Students were seen streaming out into the halls with their hands up as officers went building to building to secure campus. It all started just before 8:30 p.m. with a 911 call of shots fired. Students told to secure in place, local, state, and federal officials all responding to the scene, followed by an hours-long search for the suspected gunman who was later found dead.
And we have complete Team 7 coverage in East Lansing this morning, beginning with my partner Keenan Smith, who is on the scene there just near crime scene tape. Now, Keenan, what has the atmosphere been there since you got to the scene, and how are students and parents reacting?
Well, in a word, disbelief. I spoke to folks here and they just can't believe that violence like this could happen here. So many of them say that this is a place that has just been peaceful and a place that they just feel comfortable and they feel safe. Unfortunately, with this generation, this type of violence in a place of learning has happened all too frequently. Now, I spoke to a young woman who was leaving campus even hours after the shooting. This was in the 1 o'clock hour here, and she was walking away with her father. And she described her experience when she heard that alert. She scrambled to safety, and then describes how she spent the next terrifying several hours. And how long were you in your room?
For 4 hours.
4 hours. And who were you in your room with? Do you have roommates? Do you live on campus? Tell me a little bit about where you found yourself safe and secure.
Yeah, I live in Campbell Hall, so I went there and I was actually in my room with 6 other people. Yeah.
And they were doing the same thing?
Yep.
These are your roommates. They were calling their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
What was the conversation like between the 6 of you?
Just, we were trying to figure out what was going on and trying to comfort each other. We were all freaking out and just doing our best to stay calm in this situation.
And what was the reunion like when you saw your daughter?
Almost was the first time when I first met her for the first time when she was a baby. So just so glad that she's safe, and I'm here to give her a hug. So I'm just blessed.
And of course, can you imagine the joy and the relief of a father who says looking at his daughter after driving 5 hours, hearing that there was a gunman on campus was like seeing her for the very first time when she was born. That is just a magnitude of relief that's really difficult to put into words. But of course, we're going to find stories like that here all across campus with parents all across the country, given that this university has such a large reach. So many of those parents breathing a sigh of relief. Sadly, though, not all of them. As we mentioned here, 3 people have been killed, 5 others recovering in the hospital, and then we're just left with questions as to why, given that the gunman has turned the weapon on himself. There's no one here to answer that question. Of course, this has been an issue playing out for many hours. 7 News News reporter Brett Cass has been here on campus since last night, and he's talked with a lot of folks in that initial moment after they had finally come out of their dorms and their safe places. And Brett, what have those students been saying to you in those initial moments where they could actually speak and sort of let people know how they feel?
Yeah, well, Keenan, I mean, in those initial moments, it was still a very active situation. People had no idea at that time where the shooter was. They were getting conflicting information on social media. So there really was a lot of fear here on campus. We were just arrived here, went to the east side of campus where we had heard at the time there had been reported shootings, which turned out not to be true. But we arrived there on the east side of campus and immediately started talking to students as they were coming out of buildings, and definitely a lot of fear and confusion as the situation unfolded. tense night for students at Michigan State University. For roughly 4 hours, fear and chaos with a shooter still on the loose.
School shootings are still an issue, and how everyone thinks we left it in high school, and never did I think this would happen.
The moment we arrived on campus, a group of freshmen approached us with hands in the air.
There's a group of people in the parking garage, in the light, wherever.
They had been with a group hiding in a nearby parking garage after running from Acres Hall, separating from friends along the way.
I still have belongings in that building, ones that I need, and friends.
A bunch of friends.
And friends.
30 minutes later, the group finally emerged from the parking garage with their hands up. All had been hiding together, coming out when they saw police lights.
It's terrifying, man. It really is. We don't know what to do at all. We're just listening to the police scanners, hoping for the best.
People are crying and scared. It's just a really bad experience.
As students worried for their own safety, they also worried for friends who were separated when the shooting began.
Thank you for glad you're safe.
And in the midst of our interview, that friend they lost came running out, the emotional embrace playing out right in front of us. How relieved are you that you just found her?
I mean, most people don't see me cry like this, so if that tells you anything, it should tell you that.
And again, I think at the time, a lot of students were really still in shock about what happened. We talked to many students as they were leaving here today, some being picked up by parents. Many said that they're heading home, wherever home may be, to be with family for a little bit after going through such a traumatic experience. We know it will take a lot of time to heal from something like this. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, many families not getting those reunification moments that we saw there as well. So truly, the campus will be mourning together for those whose lives were lost.